my. All right. Wanted to discuss some terminology that I've been learning in my trading journey. I'm sure everyone's heard of the term PIP. Uh, I went into the handy dandy chat GPT and just typed it in. What's the difference between pips, ticks, and points regarding Forex and TradeLocker? So a pip stands for percentage in point, and for most pairs is the fourth decimal place. So the example they give is Euro USD, showing the 1.1000 to 1.1001 equaling 1 pip. So I'm going to actually pull that up on um, my TradeLocker so that we can actually see what we are talking about from a visual perspective. So, all right, I'm going to pull this over. All right, so I'm just going to move this around. Here we go. All right, so Euro USD. Let's go ahead and change this back to 1 here. So it was talking about how the fourth decimal place is the pip. So if we go to, let's see, buy or a sell, does this do anything? Nope. Okay. I was just testing something out. Okay. So let's say we wanted to buy when it goes down here. You can do a pending. You can type in 1.1706, and that shows that there. And where do we want to take our profit? Let's say we want to just get 10 pips. All right, so take profit would be the 1.1716. 06 versus 16, so that's 10 pips. An easy way to get 10 pips when you're trying to type it in is to type in the ticks. Now, every pip is 10 ticks in TradeLocker. So you want to kind of remember that, because a tick is the smallest unit. We're going to go to this next definition down here. A tick is the smallest price movement the platform records. So in Forex, a tick is usually the same as a pipette, or 0.00001 for most pairs. So let's go back to that. So yeah, as we can see, a 10 pips or 100 ticks goes from here all the way to here. That's a decent jump. And if you had one lot, that is a dollar amount of $100. So if you have one lot on Euro USD and it moves 10 pips, also known as 100 ticks, then the amount we're talking about is $100. So on let's say you're on $100,000 account and your goal is to do a trade that does 1%. You would then change this to 10 lots. So now that same movement of 10 ticks or 10 pips or 100 ticks now gives you the 1,000, which of course is 1% of your $100,000 account. So that is the Euro USD. When you're talking about a different example, so like the Japanese yen pairs, it's the second decimal place instead of the fourth decimal place. So the example they give is USD JPY. So let's go there. Let's see, JPY. Okay, take this back down to 1. Okay, so let's say we're looking at this 148 here. Just for an example, 148. You want to buy at 148. And let's say you want to do, again, our example is 10 pips or 100 ticks. Now, notice instead of going all the way to the fourth, it's just adding the 0.10, which would be the 10 pips here. So that's what they were talking about, how in the JPY pairs, instead of being the fourth decimal place, it's the second one that they consider pips. And then in this example, one lot on a 10 pip move is going to give you $67.50. So again, you want to adjust that based on what percentage you want to get on a winning trade. So like there's 675, so that's 0.36% on a $200,000 account, or you know, 0.7 ish on a, or actually 0.675 on a $100,000 account. So that's Forex pips, and then also how that relates to ticks in the TradeLocker platform. Now, another term that we use sometimes is points. Mostly that's when we're on Preston's call and he's talking about how the Dow moved so many points. So I'm going to move on to the next question I asked. So Dow Jones. So when someone says the Dow dropped 100 points, they mean the index fell by 100 units. So the example here, the Dow goes from 35,000 to 34,900. That's a 100 point drop. So, to try to keep things uniform, let's convert that into actual ticks in TradeLocker. So I'm going to go to Dow. Okay. For easy numbers, let's say we're looking at the 45,000 and we're doing a sell. So let's say it's 44,900. Okay. So as we can see, that is a 100 point. So 100 points that the Dow had moved. This is the movement that we're looking here. But look at the ticks. It's 10,000 ticks. So, yeah, that if we're keeping apples to apples as far as like what we were just talking about, that would be 1,000 pips, like what typically Forex pips, which is huge move. Now, when you're talking about lot sizes, every point on a one lot is $1. So 45,000 goes 44,900. That's 100 points on one lot is $100. So if you are thinking you want to get your 1% on a $100,000 account, and you're just looking to grab 100 points, like Sam was talking about on her call earlier this evening, she's looking for just that 100 points on a $100,000 account. You're looking at 10 lots. 10 lots on the Dow. The 100 point move is going to get you $1,000, which is the 1% on your $100,000 account. So that is what I want to talk about as far as points versus ticks versus pips. There was a question earlier about when you're counting the spread, what are we looking at as far as where we count our pips. So the spread here, I'm gonna zoom so that we can kind of see it easier, make it nice and obvious here. So here's the spread. Here's if you take a buy, it's the top one. If you take a sell, it's the bottom one. So, and then you can see here how much it's 408 is how much the spread is. So let's see, 408 So that's how many. That's not points. That looks like it's actually. Is it pennies? Well, let's see here. Let's factor in what that would be. So if it's 45433.16 and the take profit is 45436.74 on a buy, and okay, so yeah, it's ticks. Okay, so on a one lot, it's $3.58. Okay, so the spread is measured in ticks. Good to know. Um, but going back to the original question, when we're trying to figure out how many pips movement we have, how can you tell if it's, you got two numbers? Well, it depends on if you're taking a market sell or a market entry or a pending entry. Because if you do a pending, you type in what you want on a buy, and then once, well, like I said, the top number is the buy. Once that top number hits here, you're in your entry. However, it's going to count you down here. So you're already in a loss because of that spread. So let's say you're doing a market. If you take a market buy, it'll hit you right here. Um, so then, however far it goes up or down, that's what you're counting your pips or your ticks or your points. It's wherever you get your entry at. So I hope that makes sense. I know this one was kind of a confusing, kind of long-winded, but I saw that question come up, and I know I had my own questions when I first started regarding pips and ticks and points and all that. So yeah, I hope this was useful, and I will see you guys on the next.